Welcome everyone to a casted game for Age of Empires 4, and today spawning on the west side of the map playing in blue we've got beastyqt playing as the Byzantines, and his opponent in the east side of the map playing in red, representing Team My Insanity. It's Anotand playing as the Rus. Welcome everyone to Dry Arabia. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, of course, depending where you are in the world. We've got the Rus and the Byzantines, two incredibly strong civilizations in Age of Empires 4. Two incredibly strong players going at it today on Dry Arabia. Interesting matchup actually, the Byzantines and the Byzantines. Well, I say Byzantines and the Byzantines. I've got Byzantines on my mind, but it's the Byzantines and the Rus. Two civilizations that are pretty strong into the mid to late game side of things, although their field age is pretty strong for the Rus as well. They can get second town centers pretty quickly and able to pump out units with their great economy because of the bounty system. It's something that's actually really kind of feels overtuned at times because they can get a second town center and not really feel it. There are very few civilizations that can do that. I think maybe the Abbasid dynasty can, do that as well with fresh foodstuffs. The Rus are certainly one of those factions or civilizations as well. The Byzantines typically scale quite well to the mid to late game. The castle age is quite strong for them, especially when they get the water level up on their cistern. It's a big part of their economy, of course. Get the extra gathering rate on those villagers when they do get the water level up, but it does match alongside the production rate with Conscriptio. It's a really nice kind of synergy there. So it'd be interesting to see if the Byzantines can survive that long, because I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of pressure coming out from the Rus. Second town center into feudal age aggression. It can be a really nice play strategy for the Rus to try and delay the Byzantines getting to that castle age. The question is, will the Byzantines have to make units early on? Will they look to match a second town center play? I mean, this is kind of interesting, right? It's like the Rus have this ability to dictate terms of fights and games. There are a couple of civilizations that do that, but in particular the Rus, they can get a second town center and it forces their opponent to make a decision based on that. Do they look to get a second town center themselves, trying to match the economy and keep up? Or do they try and play one town center into feudal age aggression, which is kind of an all-in play almost. Not an all-in play, but if you're staying one town center going feudal age aggression up against the Rus that's two town centers, they just have to survive for a set period of time before they can overwhelm you. And then the other option, I guess, in a way, is to stay one town center, go for castle age, which can be a bit tricky as well. It's going to be the Golden Gate here for the Rus. I'm not really too sure we've seen that all that often. We typically see the Kremlin. Interesting playstyle for Manhattan. There has been, there've always been two town center builds with the Rus and the Golden Gate. And it's not a bad idea, especially if he's thinking about being aggressive, right? The Kremlin really is about being defensive, although some would argue you can use the Kremlin gremlins a bit more aggressively. But it suggests that the Rus are going to be aggressive today, early on. And I think in a way, like, the Golden Gate can be a really powerful landmark. It's very resource efficient, being able to get those efficient exchanges of resources, depending on what you want. And the reason why I like it is because if it does match your playstyle and your approach to the match, it can work incredibly well. Like, the Kremlin's main usage is a defensive structure. So if you're being aggressive, you may not be as reliant on it. I mean, if you're trying to be aggressive but also reliant on a defensive structure at the same time, then something's not quite going right. The question then comes into play as to what is going to be pressuring early on. Or possibly a second town center. There's only 3 villagers on stone, but bear in mind the Byzantines do get stone when they build, well, anything really, in terms of structures, although he's adding now more villagers onto stone. Back berries, back gold, not a bad spawn overall, especially if he's thinking about the castle age, and plenty of sheep underneath the town centre. The only kind of concern for Beasty's position here are the woodlands. They're both forward, and if Anotand can target that, that could be pretty difficult to deal with. Of course, there's a lot of resources here, lots of food, there's boar, there's deer, there's berries. My question is, where do the players place the second town centre? Now, the Rus being able to be quite aggressive, I wouldn't be surprised to see them pretty expansive with their second town center. Now, conceptually, if you're thinking to be defensive, you want to place a second town center quite close to home so that you've got the static defenses and then is not kind of caught out of position. But the Rus, this could be a potential location. There's gold, there's deer, there's berries. It would be a nice spot for sure. There is some gold rather, and some berries on the south. That could also be an option. The Byzantines, on the other hand, it feels like, in a sense, they kind of have to be a bit more conservative with their second town center, right? Because of the ability for the Rus to put so much pressure on, especially with their early knights. It could be a potential for him to place the town center here, with the berries and the gold, potentially. Having said that, it's a bit of a rough one to put it there, right? Because you've already got those resources at the back of your base. It should theoretically be safe. And so really what you want to do with your second town center is secure another set of resources. The question is, where does... Oh, he's going to lose a scout here, anotand. Just about gets out of there. Buying the time, of course, to get the second town center up here on the north side. Oh, he's going to be a bit expansive here, Beasty. Yeah, he's going to go for it for the berries and the deer camp. It has been delayed a little bit. 2 scouts being a bit annoying. He will get the foundations in the end. I mean, if we're thinking about securing other resources, it is a bit difficult there for Beasty. Potentially could have gone back here for the deer and the wood, but this is obviously a bit more of a juicy location with the boar being involved and the berries, the deer, the relic and stone even. It does make it a little bit tricky for Beasty to defend this position, and that's something that Anotand could leverage. And the concern that we have for Byzantines at this early stage of the game is that the Rus have everything geared up towards aggression, right? We can feel it that Anotand's going to plan for that. He went for the Golden Gate rather than the Kremlin, suggests that it's going to pump out military. A second town center in an expansive location to make sure it gets resources quickly. 5 villages on gold, suggests that it's going to be knights. Yeah, I mean, 5 villages on gold could also signify castle age, but I kind of expect to see some pressure from Anotand here. And there is that stable, yeah, indeed. So we'll be going for some early cavalry aggression. And it's going to be tricky for the Byzantines. Does he... Oh, he's going to get palisade walls up. Okay, or he's going to extend the walls and try and keep the south side protected, trying to focus everything on the north side. But it's a heavy wood investment for it, right? So he's investing a lot here, Beasty. He's going to need to try and survive the next 10-15 minutes. And if he can, maybe there's a way that he can overwhelm the Rus. Don't forget, the Rus did get the second town center a little bit quicker. Getting wheelbarrow now as things happen. And, well, Beasty will be extending that cistern network, which is a long distance to build those aqueducts. Gonna get the barracks for the Limitane. Try and protect his economy against those knights. Yeah, that is a long way to build the aqueducts. But if he can get the walls up and protect the economy for a while, maybe there's a way he can build up a force. The other thing to note is the mobility of the army. So double stable, getting plenty of knights, hugely mobile army. Cannot say the same for the Byzantines and their playstyle and approach today. Because of course the Limitane, they need to be in position. Can't afford to be running around with those. They're not particularly fast, of course, and he does save the mining camp. He's investing 3 villages in idle time worth to do that. 2 scouts getting a lot of value here for Anotand. By the way, I would like to say a very big thank you for everyone who's been supporting the channel, whether it be on Twitch or YouTube. You guys are absolutely legends. I know that I've taken a bit of time off streaming these days, and also, well, I had a bit of a break, didn't I? But we're back, and I'm going to pace myself a little bit better. Maybe upload every 3 days means that I'm not getting burnt out. And yeah, hopefully you guys can expect a lot more content on the channel. Things are a bit grim a little bit. I mean, I'm not really a doomer, but we have had a lot of content creators switch games, at least temporarily as far as we know. Obviously with Age of Mythology being out and Stormgate being in early access. Vortex Lucifron switching over to that for now. It's been a bit tricky. Fitzbro obviously been busy with IRL stuff and has kind of mostly been pumping out Age of Mythology content. Same could be said for Drongo. So yeah, it's an awkward situation at the moment with the Age of Empires 4 community and at least content creator side of things. Trying to get an outpost here. I mean, it should happen. I mean, he has got Aquatoid to be fair, but the number of villages he's dragged out here, Anotand, is a lot. 8 of them, and that's going to be primed for that boar. This is really nice. This denial of resources is huge because, of course, what Beasty really wanted to do is secure these resources for his own. Instead, Anotand not only gets the boar for himself, he denies a lot of the deer pack, and he gets a forward proxy base, which nullifies a lot of what Beasty's been able to protect with this second town center. There's a very nice play by Anotand. Sure, he's got the berries, but, I mean, when you factor in how much he's had to be expansive with this, how risky it has been, that's a big price to pay that. Well, the expansion risk is a big risk to take for such a small reward of just the berries. No villager lost just yet, but he's threatening here, Anotand. And that food income is going to be skyrocketing because of the boar, no doubt about it. He's got less villagers on food, but is collecting more. That tells you a story. Right, about to dive on in. Go for the berries. He might pick off one here, actually. Just about gets out of there. Nice reactions there for Beasty. But chasing around, Limitane. This is the thing, right? The mobility of these knights just means that the Limitane are forever chasing. And it's keeping key, villagers idled. Back at home, he's completely fresh and free to mine anything that he wants. Targeting the gold. Just needs one more hit on that villager. But Beasty bringing it back. And anotand. He is running around the space massively. The villager goes down to the deer carcass. As it happens, the villager that Beasty loses has actually down to the outpost. Oh, might lose the scout. Manages just about to get out of there. Anotand. He's kept his units alive very well. Wouldn't expect anything less than that, really. Caliber of both these players, obviously, incredibly high. Water level is at level 4 now, so that'd be a lot of extra income. 22% gather rate on that. With the villagers, it's very nice indeed. But yeah, this is looking a bit of a rough position for Beasty. I guess in the next 10 minutes he has to hold. The question is, does he think about going to the castle age? The timing on that is going to be important, right? And there's a decision there for Anotand to make as well. Does he think about the castle age? It looks like it's going to go for more of a feudal age push, considering the number of archery ranges he's placing. 4 of them. This is something that the, they do very well. The Rus. The extra wood coming in because of the enhancement from the wooden fortress. Also, he hasn't got double broad axe just yet, but that's something that would increase the wood income even further, of course. Now, just a note on what we were talking about earlier in terms of games. Have you guys been enjoying Age of Empires 4? Have you been sort of following it less, or what's your take on it? Because there's been a lot of, I wouldn't say, the esports scene has kind of been a bit dwindling a little bit in some ways. I don't think it's ever going to go away, of course. That doesn't really happen with Age of Empires titles. But it doesn't really seem to have that buzz that it once was. I don't know if it's because of lack of announcements of any sort of DLCs or anything, but just do feel like there's been a bit of a lull period, but that's fine. Still having the enjoyment of the game. Some good games coming out recently, especially with the Red Bull coming up. Siphon trying to get a couple of hits on the Wooden Fortress, probably going to be taken out by the Knights. That's a big expensive loss there for Beasty. Nice pick off Anotand. He needs to keep that Siphon away, or any siege away from his proxy base, and he'll be fine. He's now queuing up double broad axe. That'll be coming in quick time, and that's really going to be good for the economy. Now, the army composition here for Beasty, Limitani and archers. It's not a bad one to defend with, but he's got to make sure he keeps the Limitani numbers up. He does have the shield wall ability, which certainly help. A couple of longbowmen sprinkled in. In fact, actually, most of this is longbowmen, as it happens. From the olive oil that he's been gathering. Yeah, okay, it looks like he's going to go for the castle age soon. You can see it. Number of villagers is getting gold. He's mining it, but it's kind of a little bit imbalanced there. A little bit more food than perhaps you would want. Now, speaking of castle age, the Golden Gate, 3 tickets inside of that. All Anotand really needs to do is focus on food, and then he can just buy or trade something anyway, at least for gold. Sell something, get that gold for the castle age potentially. But he's going to add in the barracks for his own spearmen, possibly prepping for the castle age and man at arms. That would be a nice approach to this. But yeah, Beasty having to shift all this economy has made it a really rough decision to have expanded so expansively. My question is, obviously the game is by no means over, far from it. But one thing you got to consider as well is gold positions. And that would see the game end quickly if he runs out of gold, because he needs gold for the Castle Age Beasty, and he needs gold for gold units in the Castle Age. The other gold positions are far forward. Speaking of Castle Age, a high trade house being built by Anotand, plenty of barracks, so he's definitely going to be having a man-at-arms switch. Which is a bit tricky to deal with for Beasty, right? Because actually, whatever Beasty's making at the moment is very hard countered by man-at-arms. Where does Beasty go from there? He's going to go to the Castle Age, to the Golden Horn Tower himself. What unit does he go for, though? The Knights add a big layer to this, because if he goes for Varangian Guards, sure, they're great against the Archers, not so great against the Knights in some ways. So it's a pretty tricky one for the Byzantines, I would say. The High Trade House will be built first. We begin to that Castle Age at a very nice time here. Almost 15 minutes on the clock. And upgrades queued up almost, well, essentially immediately, right? Wedge Rivets, extra ranged armor, the veterancy on the archers, and also the veterancy on those knights. And it's going to have a bit of a timing window here, right? As long as Beasty doesn't have... I mean, he doesn't have that much production set up either. This is a bit rough, because whilst we will get to the car stage, he doesn't have the mass production that he perhaps would want. He's got plenty of resources floating. Struggling a bit on wood here. Here comes a ram, and you start to wonder, this position is looking to be threatened pretty badly. He's keeping up on the villager count, to be fair, Beasty, which is certainly helpful. But he's got to find a way to try and protect this and hold this potentially, because if he does go down and lose his town centre, then he's going to be stuck on 1 TC versus 2. Which in the short term is not necessarily a big deal, but in the long term it is. Going down to 1 TC might be a bit of a blessing if he can produce more units because of it. But it's going to be a hard hold. The archers mostly focusing on the limit tonight. The melee units here for Anotand are going to take down that TC quick time. Limit tonight have come on out. Veteran limit tonight, which will help. He's up against veteran archers. Longbows have been upgraded as well to the veterancy status, but here come the man-at-arms, a couple of them trickling on in. Not really engaging in the fight, takes out the town centre first. Knight's going to dive on in. And you wonder whether Anotand just takes the fight now, because if he trades well, he knows he's going to be ahead in advantage the economy, just by courtesy of being 2 TCs versus just the 1 now. And he's pushing on in. This could be disastrous for Beasty. He doesn't have that many military units, down to 21. Behind on economy, behind on military. The question is, can Anotand deliver a killer blow? It's not always the case. Defender's advantage is obviously a real thing. And if Beasty can somehow stabilize, maybe there's a way he pushes back. But Anotand looking in a good spot. Here come the Vringit guards. Tanking a lot against those archers. Knights are coming in now from the west side. Gonna dive on the longbows. They're pretty unprotected. Villagers are scampering around. Akrator has been deployed. But the bigger thing is that not only is he taking down the town centre, a lot of villagers have been idled and he's sniping them now. And he's keeping a lot idled out. 15 villagers idled in that town centre. At this point, it doesn't even come about killing villagers. It's just about keeping things idled. But Anotand backing away for now. Probably the right move. He doesn't want to lose everything too quickly. I think Beasty should hold this. The question is, can he hold up against a next wave? Because that second wave is coming in thick and fast with that proxy base. But if there's 1 or 2 players that can do it, Beasty will have his name in the hat to be able to protect himself and push on out again. But he does need the army replacing quickly. Having an olive grown transition, not the best timings, but he needs it. He needs the food. One thing to bear in mind though, if he can get the olive oil kicking on in, he might be able to replace the army pretty quickly. It's something that the Byzantines can do pretty well. Having the extra resource to rely on, because look how many longbows he has. This is all paid by olive oil. Now, with being in the castle age though, Anotand with the map control could potentially think about getting those relics, right, for the mid to late game. I guess we're kind of already in the mid game, but the late game, that could come into play. He's looking to get those sacred sites, although it's just activating for now. Picking up the relics first. But sacred sites certainly a thing. He's struggling on food here. You can see Knights have the presence of mind. This is a rough area actually. Beasty has secured it a little bit with the outpost, with the magnet placement coming in and the fortification. He needs it. There's gold and food here. Anotand splitting his army here, going just to this location where he wants to target. Now, Mangonel emplacement not in just yet. Fortification is, so this might go down before that upgrade comes in, which will be pretty rough actually, all things considered. And the Rus are starting to pick up those relics. Now, of course, with Anotand being on 2 town centres, it means that Beasty's economy is flagging behind, but he's got plenty of resources coming on in. Maybe he can pump out units and push this back. Anotand, he doesn't need to do anything crazy, right? Just he needs to stall out the game, let the game tick along, and he's got a better economy, of course. Mangan placement does come on in, but it might go down this outpost before too long. We'll get a couple of hits. He's focusing on the army mostly here, Anotand. A couple of knights. Yeah, I think he loses the outpost. That makes things pretty tricky. Bringing guards all but gone. Couple behind the walls, but nothing more than that. Anotand just knocking at the door at this point. High trade house getting 88 gold per minute. Nothing to be too ashamed of. Quite a decent amount of gold coming on in here from the mining as well. And he's picked up 1 relic, deposited it. 2 more on the way. So gold should not really be a problem here for the Rus. But the olive groves are up. Make no mistake, this is a powerful part to the Byzantine economy. They have had a bit of a nerf recently with the extra cost attributed to them, but still a very strong mechanic for them. Things are quieting down now, and I wonder whether something's brewing for the Byzantines. We need something, that's for sure. Trying to go for the gold here. That's a lot of villagers. 2 outposts. Won't be enough space for everyone to gather inside. Might lose 1 or 2 villagers, but he'll lose a couple of knights in trading for that. But I think he lost any actually in the end. He just lost a handful of knights. Actually, a nice play. I guess the mangonel placements do really work quite well against even cavalry units. Speaking of units, here come the Rus units from the east. Going to be burning down that palisade quick time, I suspect. Beasty has to gather the army together. He's got to take out one big fight, you feel, just to push this all back. There's a lot of man-at-arms. Crossbows added into the mix as well. Where does Beasty go from here? I guess it's got to be Ringing Guards crossbows, potentially, but, you know, he's fighting fire with fire, really, and Anotand probably just has more fire. Army in the south has been dealt with, more or less. But he's pushing on in here, and Anotand might be able to get a lot of economy damage. He's definitely causing idle time. Killed 13 villagers already, and don't forget, behind all of this, it's a bit of a smoke screen, right? Because picking up all the relics should get all 5 of them. Potentially then could get some of the sacred sites. A couple of Ringing Guards, or man-at-arms really going on the gold, on the stone rather. Words today, it's early in the morning for me, but it's denying key resources, we can say that much. Ringing Guards on the wood line. Nice presence of mind just to split 1 or 2 units at key locations of resource gathering points, right? That's really quite important to keep your enemy's economy idled that way. And Anotand showcasing just how to do that. Especially with how hard it is to take care of those man-at-arms. Pretty tanky units, of course, and now that he's got 5 relics almost in the bank, he's got it now. I suspect we'll be starting to see those sacred sites coming into play for the Rus. He's in a really good spot, Anotand. We do start to see the unit numbers creeping up for Beasty, so he's not down and out just yet. He could have one big push inside of him to push this out, but if he doesn't make that work for him, I feel like the pushback again from Anotand will be pretty big. We see this a lot in Age of Empires for a bit of a tug of war. He's got a lot of gold here stacked up. Anotand. Holy moly. That's the benefit of having 5 relics and sacred sites coming on in as well. He's having a very hard transition to farms, I gotta say. This does typically happen for the Rus, so there is a bit of breathing space here for Beasty. And that farming transition is really hurting the momentum here for the Rus. But he has to have it. He has to do it. He's got static defenses to protect himself whilst it happens. Trying to get a keep as well, but that might be denied. I'm not sure if that goes up. It might be risky. It might, but we shall see. Villagers might be sniped. Let's just see what Beasty decides to focus on. Does he go for his enemy's army? No, he does cancel the keep in the end. Places it a bit more conservatively behind the palisade walls, which are fortified, so it makes it a little bit more tricky for Beasty to break on in. All 3 sacred sites, all 5 relics. He just needs to get the farming economy up and running. Be able to pump out units again. Will he have enough time, or will Beasty be able to push on in and deliver a big blow? The only consideration to think about is, you know, Beasty doing some damage is one thing. Making it significant damage as a killer blow is another. As a mangonel might be sniped by Ringing Guards if he notices it. I'm not sure if he spots it. There's even the army here for the Rus. But Beasty's knocking at the door. Maybe the Rus might dive on in whilst Beasty dives on in the Rus base, potentially. Neutralizes 1 sacred site, but you know, Anotand won't mind that too much. Not the end of the world. And this gold is going to be critical now, right, for Beasty. Oh, that crossbow. Absolutely demolished by the mangonel. Alright, well, the economy is pretty unguarded, and Beasty might get some value. The question is, does Anotand feel confident he'll get value on the other side or not? He's diving in. He's getting some villager kills here, Beasty. That's exactly what he needs to do, but Anotand has been ahead on economy for quite some time. Man-at-arms knocking at the door, but he's pulling away here. Anotand is going to defend. I think he might come back, actually. A lot of the economy going to be idle for quite a while. He's got a couple of tickets in play. If he needs that extra food, he can buy it if he needs to. Oh, 2 man-at-arms on the stone vein here. Pretty important. He's going to get the keeps on the sacred sites now. Beasty's not reacting. He might lose a couple. I'll tell you who's going to lose a couple. Keep went up in the end, but villagers plummeting. Beasty with the longbows sniping so many. This is absolutely huge. He's killed 32 villagers already overall, and the villagers coming out for the wood line. Why? No, that's not what they needed to do. They needed to stay at home and safe, but fortunately, they didn't get the memo. What they did get is a butt full of arrows. Oh, he's trying to get another TC here, but the onslaught coming in with these longbows, getting so many villager kills. But bear one thing in mind. Anotand's economy, villager numbers still ahead. And Beasty is trading a lot of army for all of this. But it's definitely worthwhile trade. Is Beasty making a comeback? There's potential for it. He's been under pressure the whole game, but all of a sudden, he's the one now doing a lot of damage. He's killed 50 villagers. Almost double to what he's lost, and caused a lot of idle time as well. The Rus still struggling on food. Does have a force to defend with as well if the Rus do decide to push bomb back. But this is a big thing. He's longing out the game, and this is exactly what the Byzantines need. Beasty needs to see this game into the late game if he can. Palisade walls coming up for Anotand, trying to just pigeonhole Beasty in one corner. But yeah, this is a smart play. He's causing this army, this man at arms, which could be in his base right now. Beasty is pushing it away, making sure they're chasing after the longbows instead. Great play by Beasty. Distraction has worked. He's going to start to build the Kaya Siphons. Maybe going to take out this forward position. This could be a nice position to take care of and secure again. Siege coming out for Anotand, 2 mangonels. The question is, with that push now over for Beasty, is the damage that is done, will it be enough? Looks like the Rus are consolidating, they're stabilizing. Yeah, it looks like he's going to try and save this location. Army is heading that way, couple of man-at-arms mostly. Not sure if he'll get there in time. The Karasafan does tend to burn things down pretty quickly. Or we might pick off a Springle. That could be a big pick off. No, he decides to keep the bringing guards alive for now at least. Oh no, he's chasing. He is chasing. I'm not sure if he gets it in the end. No, I don't think he does actually. Body blocking coming up with the man at arms of Rus, and he keeps it alive. And fortunately, Beasty actually loses a lot of bringing guards trying to chase that. And the economy not what it once was for the Rus. Still not too bad. Man-at-arms crossbows grouped up together for Anotand. Maybe he's going to go for one big push potentially here. Around the back of the base. Couple of longbows, not too much. Karasiphan's still burning things down. He's holding on, Anotand. Probably just still trying to stabilize, really. Building another Karasiphon. Mangonel deploys. But this is a big fight, potentially. A couple of Landscash added into the mix, so they could get on top of the infantry if they can, but the Springalds, well, the Springalds there from the Rus doing a lot of damage. There's still 3 there for Beasty, trying to snipe out the Mangonel if he can, but the Mangonel's getting so many shots off. Man-at-arms tanking that front line for Anotand. He's getting a lot of value. Now around the back. Oh, Rus getting the gold there. Nicely done, but Man-at-arms taking out that front line. Beasty doesn't have that much left. Mostly Springalds. Takes out the Mangonel in the end, but those Springles are gone, more or less. Those man-at-arms from the Rus will take them out quickly. The infantry moving on forward. Looks like Anotand coming in with his push. The economy has been able to fuel this. He's been able to build up a large bank of gold. Still struggling on food as it happens. Things are quieting down, but I suspect Anotand will push in once again, potentially. The other option is possibly going to the Imperial Age. Wouldn't be a bad shout, because he's got a lot. Well, actually, he's spent all his tickets. Doesn't know tickets remaining. Anotand backing away for now, at least. Wonder whether Beasty is going to be able to stabilize. Got a lot of food in the bank. And of course olive oil. They're struggling on gold, but ultimately I guess in a way Byzantines can rely a bit more on olive oil than gold at this stage of the game. He's starting to warm up. I think Anotand's getting a bit antsy here. Doesn't feel too confident about pushing on in, maybe. Anotand staying at home for now, at least. Kind of surprised to see that the Sacred Site not capped again in the middle, though. That warrior monk might have something to say about that. Beasty's army just grouping down in the middle. It looks like actually Anotand might be thinking about the Imperial Age. He's got plenty of food and gold in the bank. Yeah, he's thinking about it, right? Spasskaya Tower could be pretty important in the forward position, potentially. It's actually going to be the High Armory. It makes a lot of sense, right? Spasskaya Tower doesn't really need that static defense necessarily. What he probably does need is siege to see out the game. He's got to keep in this right position. Protecting that Sacred Site as we saw earlier. I wonder if... Oh, there is a trebuchet there. Alright, Beasty challenging that. He's going to go for the 8,000 gold veins, right? This is important. This stage of the game. He did a bit earlier, to be fair, but... He needs this gold. He has secured it with his own keep, but he needs to take this one out first before he can mine it. Beasty walling up stone walls on the west side, but this is a large force to be reckoned with. Anotand getting to the Imperial Age now becomes really tricky for Beasty. Because whilst Beasty has a lot of food, doesn't have gold. And the big thing is the tech up on the army, right? So elite man-at-arms, elite crossbows will be a big deal to deal with, big problem to deal with. There we go. Upgrades to the crossbows, upgrades to the man-at-arms. Once they come in, it's going to be hard for Beasty to hold that. But he wants this gold. Villagers coming out to take the Cairo Siphon. Does have 2 wooden fortresses. As you can see, it's a race for gold at this point. Beasty does have a market. Could potentially sell the food because he's got a lot floating. Okay, Anotand. He wants all the stone off the map. That's a lot of villages on stone. 36. I mean, if he can get forward keep drop, that'd be pretty nice to see. He doesn't know about this just yet. He does now. Beasty somewhat secure in this location with the keep. The trouble is, will he have enough time? He's behind on the age, and the upgrade's now in for Anotand. He's going to push on in, although just waiting in the crossbow one. Torches are out on the man-at-arms. Look at their armor, golden. They actually look... Have they had an update? They look absolutely phenomenal. It feels like that's been updated. Holy moly. Either way, it takes the fight. A couple of Landscash to add it in there for the Byzantines. Could make this work. But he has to get some big shots with the mangonels. Does have 2 of them, to be fair. A couple of Springles, though, coming in for the Roos. If the Roos can take out those mangonels, this fight will be totally different. But it just feels like he's starting to be overwhelmed here. Beasty does lose 1 mangonel. The other one retreats. But where is he going to retreat to? I guess the outpost with the mangonel on placement. But this push coming in from Anotand feels like it's too hard to hold. 79 military to 47. This is elite army, don't forget. We'll lose a couple of man-at-arms to the mangonel on placement, but he's just going to skirt around that. And whilst Beasty might have gold income again, he doesn't have the unit numbers to defend. He's behind on economy, behind on military, man-at-arms. Going to take out the Limitane so quickly. Couple of crossbows behind, but at this point, Anotand should just be able to overrun, and it's looking hard here for Beasty. Had a good pushback in the mid-game after suffering a lot of damage. Been a fascinating game of Age of Empires, but at this point, it feels hard for Beasty to hold it. Looks like Anotand going to push on through. He's got plenty of stone in the bank for a keep if he needs it. He doesn't need it. Beasty taps out. It was a cracking game of Age of Empires 4. A lot of back and forth, a lot of strategy involved. Villagers do actually go out to build a keep there, potentially. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Take care, and see you next time.